All right. So, as men, we understand that going to the gym and that exercising, that lifting weights is how we build muscle. This is the idea of, I believe it's called hypertrophy, is where we put a load on the muscle and the tearing down of the muscle and then the muscle healing and then the tearing down of the muscle and then the muscle healing. That this process is the breaking down of something so that it can heal bigger and better than it was to begin with. So I'm going to share something with you that I believe will be beneficial in understanding how this works in marriage, because we know in scripture that the body is likened to the wife and the head is the husband is the head, the wife is the body, Christ is the head, the bride is the body, or the church is the body. And Paul talks about disciplining the body and bringing it under control, that we are to have control of our body and the things that we eat, the things that we consume, and that um, no man hated his own flesh, but nourishes, which the word there for nourish is actually to train up. It says to train up your children in the fear and admonition of the Lord. So the whole idea of the head is to discipline the body and say, this is what we're eating, this is what we're doing. We're not going to do this. We're going to do this. And so many people in today's society, when you look at today's society, you see the body dictating what happens. You see the stomach telling the head what to do. You see people's appetites determining what's going to happen. You see the senses ruling over the head. The senses are actually dictating how things are going to be. So, this is the flesh having control of the head instead of the head having control of the flesh. So, back to what we were originally discussing is that marriage is a lot like weightlifting or exercise just in general, and the affliction of the body. So, if you think about it, when you go to the gym and you lift weights, you're actually there's a tearing down of the muscle. And then if you talk to people who are bodybuilders, I lift weights. I'm no expert on this by any stretch of the imagination, but I do know that rest is important. That there's rest periods between. So like I work out 2 days a week. I do very high reps, a couple times a week, and so what happens is that you tear the muscles down, and then that time that there is between the workouts is a healing time, and the muscles heal back and they get bigger. So in marriage, when you read in Genesis 3:16, that says, "Her desire shall be contrary to her husband, but he will rule over her." Okay, that is a focal point of the idea of marriage, and having a proper expectation of this idea that there will be conflict. Okay, there will be affliction, but the process of affliction will bring about a better and stronger marriage. And so I'm not excusing bad behavior from women. I'm not excusing any of that, but I do believe that they were designed in such a way to test the strength of their leaders. I think they were designed to test the boundaries. I think they were designed to, um, through their testing boundaries, through their testing leadership, it actually makes the man better at being a leader. If you look at the language and how the language is even, it even seems to tell us in the language, in the feminine language, that that she is there to help the man reach his potential as a king. And you can't be a king if you don't have subjects. You can't be a king if you don't have anybody following you. And the only way to get people following you is to rule over them. So, I tell guys all the time that, can you be a warrior if you've never been in battle? You know, okay, maybe you've done some stick fighting with, uh, some people, and it's never under the pretense of war where somebody's actually trying to kill you. So to be a warrior or a UFC fighter, you have to actually be in the ring. You have to actually go through some things. You got to know what you're made of. And so your training has to be tested in order for you to be a warrior. You get what I'm saying? Like, you can train and train and train and train, but at the end of the day, if you've never actually been battle tested, you don't really know what you're made of. You don't even know what your potential is. You don't know what your abilities are. And so that's why, in a marriage, for you to be a king, your wife is there to test you. She, in a way, kind of battle tests you. So you become stronger as a king, because as she pushes back and as she tests and she pushes boundaries, and you learn how to deal with that and deal with these situations, you get better and better and better at it. You get stronger and stronger and stronger at it. What ends up happening is you are actually in the process of becoming a king, because you're learning how to rule over people. And she is the method by which that happens. You can't truly become a king until you rule over people, and you can't really do that until you're married and you get a wife. You really can't even begin to fathom what that is. You have to have a wife to do this. But the little fights that you have, and when I say fight, I'm not telling you to argue with your wife, because you know that I'm completely against that. You never argue with your wife. But what I am telling you is that when you do have issues come up in the marriage, they, depending on how you react to them, I look at problems now. I laugh at them. I in the sense that I don't worry about problems anymore. When a problem arises, I know how to deal with it. I've dealt with it for so long. I've dealt with them for so long. I know how everything works out. But what happens is through these little bumps, and these, or even big bumps, that you go through, and that you exercise your authority and you exercise your leadership, and you do this over and over and over again. That process of the tearing down of the muscle and then the building up, you guys become stronger in your marriage through the problems, through the affliction of the body, through the affliction of your marriage. The healing part, you'll come back together. Maybe it's a month or 2 months and things are really good, and then you got something, a little hiccup in the road, and then things are good for 2-3 months. But those little hiccups and things like that actually contribute to making the marriage stronger. Just like when you tear the muscle down and then you let it heal up, and then you tear it down and then it heals up. It's the same process in marriage, that these issues that arise in marriage, whether it's spats or whether it's, financial difficulties, all these things, if executed properly as a leader, if you execute these things properly, what you'll find is that your marriage in the long run will actually be much, much, much stronger, because you've had the ability to exercise your leadership. She's seen you exercise your leadership, and it's attractive to her. Even if it may, in the immediate sense, cause some division. Maybe you guys don't talk for a few days. Maybe, something, whatever it is, those instances actually have the ability to bring a great coming together and making things stronger than they were even before. But the man, here's the thing, is the man can never be worried about conflict. You have to understand that conflict was there in Genesis 3:16, that it was promised that you were going to have issues. You are going to have conflict. You have to understand that that's actually written in the genetic code of Scripture, stating that as a man, you are going to have conflict. Her desire shall be contrary to you, but you will rule over her, okay? So going into a marriage, understanding that she's going to push There's going to be some pushback. And if you live in a Western culture, it's 1,000% guaranteed you're going to receive some pushback. Okay, you should just expect it. And even if you lived in a Muslim culture, you should still expect it. Not anywhere to the degree what you're going to experience it in the Western culture, but you have to understand you're going to face opposition in your marriage. The enemy knows that going through your wife is the easiest way to get to you too. But through your leadership and you being firm and you not being moved by these issues, your wife will actually become more attracted to you. She'll be able to rely on you. She'll know that that you are not moved, and it'll actually create attraction. The disagreements where you're like, no, that's not how this is going to work. She might get mad at you and she might say, well, whatever, and she won't talk to you. She gives you the cold shoulder, or maybe she gets mad at you and says something inappropriate. But as long as you do what you're supposed to do and you don't tolerate disrespect and you do the things that you're supposed to do, in the end, when she comes around to what she's supposed to be doing, she'll be much happier. She'll come to you and she'll be really turned on by you. She'll be really drawn to you by your steadfastness and your not budging. So the fights actually have an incredible opportunity to bring growth and to bring attraction, because girls are kind of like that. If you remember, I talked about how they're like water. It's chaos. They like a little chaos here and there. They like a little fight here and there. They like excitement. And like I've said before, you can make a girl feel anything but bored. You can make her feel angry, you can make her feel sad, you can make her feel all kinds of things, but bored is not one of them. So if she feels like things are a little too boring, she feels like, you're not being the man you should be and saying no to things, or you're not keeping your boundaries nice and tight, she'll push even harder. And so she can get a little excitement. They will do this. And so you have to be ready at all times to do what's right. You always have to be ready to say the things you need to say, regardless of, if it's something that might be upsetting or they may not want to hear. You have to always be ready, able, and willing to say the things and do the things that you need to do, regardless of how, whether she likes it or not. So the whole point of this video is simply expect conflict, and not only expect conflict, but if you are reacting to the conflict in a way that is strong and that shows that you're a strong leader, I guarantee you can expect that the bedroom is going to be a little bit more exciting. It's going to get more exciting. In fact, makeup sex and your relationship will get closer and closer. So don't look at conflict as a bad thing. Know that it's there. It says it's to be expected. I think Peter says that, why do you act as though something strange is happening to you when you experience, difficult situations and stuff? We should just expect it. We're kings. We should expect that we're going to be tested. Your wife wants to see how strong the bridge is. She's going to shake the bridge and see if it falls. You will be tested until the day that you die. Now, the rate of which that happens, the severity of how she tests, all those things, they might diminish with time. But she's going to have to test your leadership. And the good news is, as long as you know who you are, you're confident in who you are. You've done this 1,000 times. Like I have been in so many conflicts at this point that I am like an expert at getting through them. I know what to do with each kind of situation. I know how to handle it, whether or not, my wife's having issues with her feeling insecure, or whether it's like, what they call a shit test, or whether it's disrespect. These are things you have to learn about your wife, and you have to handle them differently. You can't handle them all with the same thing. Some things you use a sledgehammer, and some things you use a fly swatter. And if you use the wrong thing for the wrong thing, you can end up with a really bad situation. But embrace conflict, embrace affliction, and know that in the end, um, that the coming together after these times is going to be great. Enjoy them while they're there. Enjoy that healing and the bonding and things getting um, experiencing the strength that comes through the little conflicts and whatnot that pops up. And understand that you will enjoy that for a season, and then there will be another season for lifting weights, another season for tearing of the muscle, and then the coming back together. And if you think about this, the process of two becoming one, you look at a crucible, and that's where they melt the liquids, the metals together, and then form the metal, the two different pieces of metal into one piece of metal. And if you read in the book of the Nazarene, Christ says that a marriage that is not tested by fire, a marriage that does not go through these things, is not really a marriage at all. And that is absolutely true. If your marriage, if you never have issues, if you nothing ever happens, there's something really wrong. Either the man is too much of a pushover. I mean, there could be a lot of different things, but the truth of the matter is that two people becoming one is a process of dying to self. And especially the woman is she's designed to assimilate to her man, and this is even a difficult process. The same way that the man assimilates to God and becomes one with God, he dies to himself. There are parts of him that have to die, parts of him that have to die to assimilate to God. And in the same way as the woman she is assimilating to the man, there's parts of her that have to die, and there's parts of her that get healed. And so this is a very long process. And especially in a Western culture where people have been exposed to a lot, women have slept around a lot, men have been in porn. I mean, you go down the list, there's a lot of baggage people bring into relationships. And God can deal with that baggage and sort it out. But, it's going to take some heat. It's going to take some fire molding and shaping you as a husband and your wife, and you setting these boundaries for her to conform to the boundaries. And so some will be easier than others, and some might offend her or aggravate her or whatever. But no, in the end, it's a difficult situation, and you should expect that you are going to get some pushback. Expect that you are going to get some heat, because it says, "Your desire shall be contrary to your husband, but he shall rule over you." And that's the very first woman ever created. That it says right there. I mean, we're way more fallen now than we were then. You should expect there to be conflict, and know that the conflict is going to bring a better marriage. It's going to bring a better you. It's going to bring a better her. So embrace it. Don't be scared of it. Don't let your heart flutter and get, oh my goodness, my wife's upset, my wife's angry, things aren't going right, this and that. You have to be of the mindset that you're a rock. You're not moving. And you're going to do what's right no matter who gets upset. You're going to do the right thing. And even if that means mama ain't going to be happy, it's okay. So, marriage is the spiritual gym where the heavy lifting is done, where kings are made, and where brides are turned into spotless and blameless brides. This is the process. For you to become the king that you need to become, you need somebody to test your leadership. You need somebody to push back against you so that you can learn to overcome, so that you can become a king. And if you're not tested, then you're not a king. If you can't be tested and you can't overcome and you can't learn how to rule and how to overcome these situations, then you can't be a king. So you need your wife. You need her to push back against you. You need to embrace her testing, embrace her shit testing, embrace her insecurities, embrace these things, because they're going to make you one hell of a king at the end of the day. You are going to become somebody that is in the kingdom, that is extremely powerful and has the ability to do great things because you've been tested. So embrace it.